You are what you eat.
Food is something to celebrate about life.
It is a pretty big part of mine and most other people's social lives.
It's a family experience.
The future of food is pretty much in our hands.
By 2050, there will be almost 2 billion more people on Earth. At the same time, environmental factors are already challenging our food supply, meaning current production methods may need to change. Developing countries will be demanding their fair share from the global food supply. And in the UK, we import almost half of our food, making us vulnerable to changes.
So essentially going into the future, we're going to have to produce the amount of food for a growing, wealthier population from the same agricultural footprint, the same area of land, or conceivably even a smaller one.
Business as usual is not the answer. We can't go on producing crops in the way we currently do, especially because we know some of the current methods are harming the environment, and therefore that is not very sustainable. What we need to be clever about is actually predicting or coming up with solutions before the problem has happened.
And of course, it's not just about producing enough calories. We want people to have the kind of food which is going to support them to have a healthy life as well. And that's going to be a really difficult balance to strike.
We need to start thinking about the production of the food, the intensive farming.
Without impacting the environment.
That government and industry may have to do certain things.
There's innovations around meat grown in laboratories and chemicals and packaging.
Giving consumers cheap stuff in packets and pills.
Cloning of seeds or things like that.
I've heard stories about, in the future we'll have to be eating, crickets, new sources of food.
Like in my country, I eat grasshoppers, I eat white ants. Those are insects.
I think we're all going to have to be open to new ideas if we are going to sustain it and be able to feed everybody.
I feel like we will end up with options, but it will depend on your tax bracket.
It's going to be a lot more expensive for consumers, like companies, restaurants, to get their food in. I guess that will become more of an issue.
I think we need to be realistic that it's going to be very, very hard to achieve all of the goals we might have for our food system, to produce a healthy and sustainable food supply and at low cost. That might not be achievable. And we need to think very carefully how we balance the increased costs of production against the important achievement of the health and environmental goals.
There are lots of possibilities for the future, each with their own pros and cons. It is clear that change is coming. What do we want that change to look like?
Do we localise farming and have allotments?
I would prefer to buy food where there's some link with where it's come from.
And going to a supermarket and buying a processed food is not what I'm looking forward to end of the day.
Or do large global corporations manage complex food production, which could impact local farmers?
I would want there to be supermarkets or where you can get a wide range of choices.
To be honest, I just don't have the time. It's all about convenience for me.
Transparency in what people are actually paying for is the most important thing. I think people should be properly informed.
They could give us a lot more information.
And it has to be reliable.
What if food got so expensive that I wouldn't be able to eat properly?
Higher prices and a complex food system could lead to an increase in food crime.
Personally, if I walk into a supermarket, generally anything on the shelf I would assume is safe to consume. It's obviously not always the case.
The scandal with the horse meat in beef, I think, was a big thing, which shocked a lot of people.
Big corporations are controlling what we eat rather than governments overseeing it. I think the government's got to get involved and oversee what they're putting out to us.
And we're going to need to look into food waste.
My mum lived in Malawi for 5 years, and she said that one of the biggest culture shocks for her when she first moved back to the UK was walking into a supermarket and seeing that there was so much choice.
I think food has become very cheap and devalued.
Considering other countries around the world can't feed their own populations, yet we are so wasteful with food. It's treated just like a disposable commodity. That has to stop going forward. There has to be better ways of doing things.
And I think we need to have a more sophisticated discussion, all of us in civil society, about exactly what we want.
Because at the end of the day, for us to address what I think is probably the biggest challenge of the 21st century. It requires us all to work together and to come up with a solution which we all agree and want to move forward.
As consumers, I think we should take more of an interest as to the processes, what actually needs to happen, how things are raised, how things are farmed, what chemicals are used. We just take it for granted that everything is looked after for us. I think we need to take personal responsibility.
Food is something which affects everybody's lives. It's one of those topics that we've all got a direct vested interest in it. So discussions about the food system are not something for politicians or the food industry or farmers. It's something for all of us. This is a conversation which we have all got to have, because changes in the food system will impact on the kind of food that is available to us and the kind of diets that people consume.